Good morning, and welcome to the Chapel of the Resurrection on this very autumnal day. Welcome to morning prayer. A special welcome to those watching the live stream. I'm Nate. I'll be your leader this morning. In just a few minutes, we will hear from faculty speaker Dr. Mel Piehl, Senior Research Professor of Christ College, giving a reflection on this year's theme, That Time I Asked for Help. Join us tonight at 6 p.m. in the Helge Center Multipurpose Room. If you don't know where that is, as you're leaving the chapel this morning, walking west, you turn left in the lobby, you'll eventually end up there. Anyway, if you do come tonight for Beyond Partisanship, Leading Locally, this event will feature a panel of local leaders from both Republican and Democrat parties who have reached across party lines in various ways and will discuss how and why serving goes beyond partisan politics. The panelists include Porter County Sheriff Jeff Balin, Valparaiso Mayor John Costas, Center Township Trustee Jesse Harper, and Valparaiso City Council Member Emily Hunt. On Thursday, November 21st at 5:30 p.m. in the meeting room of Loc Hall, join PM Micah for an intercultural Thanksgiving potluck. If you are able to bring a dish that comes from either a family recipe or your cultural background and list potential allergens, you're not required to bring a dish. You're not required to bring a dish to participate, but doing so is greatly appreciated and will give you the opportunity to compete for a prize for the best dish. Students, staff, faculty, and community members are all welcome. We hope to see you there. Today's hymn of the day can be found in the Red Book. It is hymn number 757, All My Hope in God is Founded. We will sing stanzas 1 and 2 now and sing stanzas 3 and 4 after the reflection. Again, that's hymn number 757 in the Red Book. Now, let's worship. God, you are the rock. Your love for us
A reading from the book of Esther. Queen Esther's cousin and guardian Mordecai gave Hathach a copy of the written decree issued in Susa for the destruction of the Jews, so that he might show it to Esther, explain it to her, and charge her to go to the king to make supplication to him and entreat him for her people. Hathach went and told Esther what Mordecai had said. Then Esther gave Hathach a message for Mordecai, saying, all the king's servants and people of the king's provinces know that if any man or woman goes to the king inside the inner court without being called, there is but one law. All alike are to be put to death. Only if the king holds out the golden scepter to someone may that person live. When Mordecai learned what Esther had said, he told Hathach to reply to Esther, quote, do not think that in the king's palace you will escape any more than all the other Jews. Who knows, perhaps you have come into the royal dignity for just such a time as this. Then Esther wrote in reply to Mordecai, go, gather all the Jews to be found in Susa and hold a fast on my behalf, and neither eat nor drink for 3 days, night and day, and I and my maids will also fast as you do. After that, I will go to the king, though it is against the law, and if I perish, I perish. The word of the Lord. How can we work ourselves up to ask for help when we really need it, especially from people who may have direct power over us or others, who can shape our futures for good or ill, and may or may not be sympathetic to our appeals? I once found myself in such a situation and learned a lesson that I think is most dramatically conveyed in the biblical story of Esther, part of which we just heard. You may be familiar with Esther, the queen who saved the exiled Jews in Persia from a complete destruction, or actually Holocaust, at the hands of Haman, a vicious top official of the Persian king Ahasuerus. Persia, the country we today call Iran, ruled over a vast empire that in the 5th century BC had conquered the earlier Babylonian Empire, including its exiled Jewish community. The Persian monarchs, called the Shah, or King of Kings, were the most absolute rulers of the age, notorious in the ancient world for their wealth, splendor, arbitrariness, and frequent cruelty. In this book of the Bible, we meet one of those supremely pompous and touchy rulers, Shah Ahasuerus. After Ahasuerus dumps his first wife and queen for somehow offending him, the commoner Esther becomes queen by winning a kind of second wife beauty contest and thoroughly charming the Shah. But she never reveals to him that she is in fact one of his despised Jewish subjects. So when Esther's cousin and guardian, Mordecai, learns of Haman's plan to kill all the Jews, he desperately pleads with Esther to go to the king and beg him to save the Jews from destruction. But as we have heard, this is an incredibly risky and harrowing thing for Esther to do, because not only is it a capital offense for anyone, including even the queen, to approach the king without being invited to the throne, but she would have to reveal herself as a Jew and be liable to be executed right along with her people. But after Mordecai's final appeal to her, when he says, "Who knows? Perhaps you have come into the royal dignity for just such a time as this," Esther decides to take the risk, approach King Ahasuerus, and plead to save the Jews from Haman. She asks all the Jews to fast and pray on her behalf, and then says, "If I perish, I perish." Compared to Esther's heroic and life-threatening appeal to this all-powerful king of Persia to save the entire Jewish people, my story of needing help from a powerful person is very small potatoes. In fact, it's entirely pathetic. After challenging graduate study in history at Stanford University, I'd been laboring for years on a doctoral dissertation at the pace of a tortoise. But now final deadlines were approaching, and if they were not met, I could be terminated from the program, with my hopes of an academic career and what I imagined to be intellectual glory completely dashed. The power to extend the deadline was entirely in the hands of my doctoral advisor, a brilliant and dazzling and intimidating young historian whom everyone, including me, knew to uphold the highest standards and to take no prisoners. How could I dare to ask him for help? Sure, I had reasons, or excuses really, for my tardiness in research and writing, but these didn't seem very persuasive or convincing, even to me. And the thought of confessing my failures and appealing for mercy on dubious grounds not only seemed to blow to my pride, but might likely be the last straw in prompting his decision to immediately kick me out of the program. Could I take the risk of asking him for help? It almost seemed easier to give up, slink away in defeat, and embark on my future imagined life at a McDonald's counter. So this was a truly sorry situation compared to Esther's, to say the least. Esther was plainly risking death to save her entire people, the exiled Jewish people of God suffering under Persian rule. I was risking an academic setback with the purpose of saving my own hide. This is like comparing the risks of a soldier charging into battle to spraining your ankle in a backyard touch football game. Yet at the time, and in my own mind, my need for help felt genuinely desperate. and the thoughts of rejection and failure seemed as significant and consequential as life and death, though they, of course, weren't. We know how Esther's appeal turned out. The Shah is sitting on his throne in the inner palace when Esther suddenly approaches him uninvited. He's perfectly capable of exploding in anger and even perhaps ordering her execution. But instead, he holds out his golden scepter that signals his approval of the queen's approach and grandly says to her, "What is it, Queen Esther? What is your request? It shall be given to you, even to the half of my kingdom." So, with no doubt a colossal sigh of relief and a prayer of thanks, Esther proceeds with great poise and cleverness to reveal Haman's plot to kill the Jews, as well as her own Jewish identity, to her husband. Ahasuerus orders Haman to be hung from the very gallows where he had planned to hang Mordecai, and the Jews explode in joy and relief at Esther's rescue of them from certain mass death, an event still celebrated by Jews today in the Feast of Purim, which typically occurs every year in mid-March. As for my own appeal to power, the result was far less dramatic or important, but provided no less an occasion for relief and joy. After carefully rehearsing to me in painful detail all my past deficiencies and derelictions, my advisor gave me more time to finish the dissertation. He also offered new insights and deployed his wonderful editing skills in ways that enabled me to complete the project and continue my pilgrimage in academia. So what is the lesson in these two entirely disparate circumstances? I think it is that fear of consequences, especially in asking for help from those with power to aid or harm us, is nothing but the devil's tool to discourage and demoralize us. It seems dangerous to approach powerful people, whether government officials or doctors or administrators or even family members who might have the power to disparage or harm us. But if we do not seek, we will never find, and if we do not knock, the door will never be opened. And that's where faith comes in. Faith, as St. Paul says, is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That's what I take from the story of Esther. It is, I think, Esther's faith in God and solidarity with God's people that gives her the courage to risk her life. Some biblical scholars and theologians have questioned why the book of Esther is even in the Bible, since it makes no mention of God and does not attribute the Jews' rescues to divine intervention. But when Esther asks all the Jews to fast on her behalf as she approaches King Ahasuerus, she is, I think, revealing a kind of faith and hope and trust in God that sees a realm beyond ordinary success or failure and even beyond life or death. In your life, you may be called on to ask for help from those in power, for yourself or for others. Perhaps you'll have to intervene on behalf of your child with a school principal, or with doctors on behalf of an aged parent, or with powerful government officials on behalf of your neighborhood or community. When we appeal for help to other people, including powerful people, we cannot know what the results will be. But even if the external results are not what we wanted, the act of daring to do so is a testimony and strengthening of faith. I love the phrase, the courage that faith gives. That is the courage we all need in this life. Let us boldly ask the greatest power, the power of God Most High, for that kind of faith.
May today there be peace within. May you trust God that you are exactly where you are meant to be. May you not forget the infinite possibilities that you were born with. May you use those gifts that you have received and pass on the love that has been given to you. May you be content knowing that you are a child of God. Let this presence settle into your bones and allow your soul the freedom to sing, dance, praise, and love. It is there for each and every one of us. Amen. You are invited to pray in whatever translation or language you prefer. We pray as children of God. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord.